Hello my dear YouTuber friends, I hope you're all keeping well. Welcome to this new video, which is my first impressions of Flight Simulator 2020 in VR, running on my Mid-Spec PC. Go and look at my channel page, my About tab, for my PC specs. Very much a mid-spec PC running a GTX 1066GB. So how does it perform on my PC? Before I get to that, when I first tried VR in Flight Simulator 2020 last night, I got this sort of black box artifact showing. No matter where I move my head, left or right, up or down, I got this black box. Now I'm using the Oculus Rift. I believe people using the Rift S experience this black box artifact as well. So I'm going to talk you through a solution to this first. I'm actually going to link this forum post in the description below the video for you, so you can come and look at this yourself. This solution here solved it for me, and it seemed to have solved it for this person too. So if you've got a Rift or Rift S, follow this solution. It's basically turning off the FLV stencil in the Oculus diagnostics program. Now the location for me is on my C drive. I'll go through this with you. I go to Program Files, go down to Oculus, go to Support, and then Oculus Diagnostics. And it's this program here, the Oculus Debug 2. Double click on that. It'll bring up this program here. And it's about halfway down. You'll see Use FOV Stencil. There's a little menu tab on the side here. It's on auto by default. Just click on it and turn it off, and then restart Flight Simulator. Well, then start up Flight Simulator 2020 and go into VR. And that box should have disappeared if you've done it correctly. Like I said, I'll link this post in the description for you, so you can follow these directions precisely, or step by step for yourself. Just locate that program and then run that and just turn that off, and this should work. So if you got a Rift or Rift S, that should work for you. Let me know. Okay, let's get to my first impressions of Flight Simulator 2020 in VR. Okay, so firstly I should apologize for this aspect ratio that I'm having to show you here. It outputs in shadow play on two different screens, so I had to cut one off, sort of one for the left eye and one for the right eye. So I had to adjust and crop the screen so that you could see pretty much what I'm seeing. Now I'm flying over Orbix London Landmarks scenery package in Flight Simulator 2020 here in VR. I'll show you my settings later on in this video. But with my 1066GB, basically I've got everything running on low as I can get it basically, and it's just not up to the standard. It's just not up to running Flight Simulator 2020 in VR. It does work, and my first impressions are, when you're flying over London, it's like actually flying over London because you're in VR and it's all around you. It's pretty impressive. It's just a shame that my system is not up to the job, and I didn't think it would be. I'll link my video on my speculation about VR, and I knew I would have to run it in low settings, and I'm impressed it works at all, but it's fairly choppy. It's certainly not as nice as running it on a flat screen in the traditional sense. I know people with 2080 Ti's and the 3000 series graphics card are having to turn their settings down as well. If they're running it on Ultra, they'll certainly have to turn it down to high or medium to run it and to get a good frame rate. Frame rates generally are okay. It's just because of having to run everything at low settings is just not that good. It's just not that impressive to look at, but still it's a nice experience. And if we look at my settings here, you can see I've got pretty much everything on low. The anti-aliasing didn't seem to affect the frame rate at all, so I just kept it on the highest TAA, but everything else is either low or turned off, so I've got everything basically at the lowest pretty much I can get it. Render scaling, I didn't really want to mess around with that too much, but I had to turn it down a little bit. But yeah, the 1066GB, we kind of knew it anyway, it wouldn't be up to the task of running this. And here I am flying in a different location, San Francisco, so this is not an add-on scenery package, it's just a default Flight Simulator 2020 scenery. When you're not near buildings, it's actually very smooth and it's a good experience. Even though I've got everything, like I said, as you saw, on low settings, and some things like reflections and bloom turned off, it is actually still quite a nice experience and quite impressive to fly in VR. It does judder a little bit. Frame rates generally are okay and are stable. I've not got my frame rates showing, but I'm assuming they're around 30ish. It feels okay, you don't get any sort of queasiness or drops in frames. It just judders now and again. It's really down to my system. I might try and increase my RAM. I'm running 16GB. I might buy another 16GB to extend it to 32 to see if that makes a difference. Another thing to keep in mind, this is early days for VR. It will be tweaked over the coming weeks and months, I hope. So hopefully performance will improve even on mid-spec systems. That's my hope, and it probably will. But generally, like I said, when you're not flying around buildings, yeah, performance, no issue at all. And of course, as we get closer to downtown San Francisco, yeah, the frame rates start to take a little bit of a hit. It starts to judder a little bit more. Not too bad, you could still fly it. It's just not the optimal experience with my system. I know if you got a better graphics card, a more powerful graphics card, you're going to get a better performance. You can turn those graphics settings up and get a much better experience. For me, it's a novel experience. It's great to see it in VR. It's just not optimal, obviously. I'm going to be playing it still on my flat screen on my monitor, so I can turn those settings up and get a good experience. But yeah, still impressive it runs at all in VR. Just not optimal. Depending on your system, if you've got a better graphics card and a good CPU, you're obviously going to get a better experience. So to sum up my thoughts, it's quite impressive to see Flight Simulator 2020 in VR. It's not so impressive for me as it could be simply because of my PC specifications. I will look at some point to grab hold of or get hold of a 3070 graphics card and a better CPU, a better system, essentially, probably later next year or at some point when they become readily more available. I'll keep persisting at this, keep trying to get those graphics settings improved, see if it's a couple of patches will come along where it will improve performance, and then I'll try it again. It's quite an experience. If you've got a VR headset, give it a try. It's a good experience. Like I said, unless your PC is up to the job, you're probably best just playing it in a traditional sense on a monitor, which is what I'll be doing. But yeah, those are my impressions. Let me know your thoughts. Have you tried Flight Simulator 2020 in VR yet? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Give the video a like if you've liked it, subscribe for more, and I'll see you very soon.